Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 31st of August. It's transfer deadline day, and here to talk about everything Rangers this morning is Jonny McFarlane joining myself, Derek Clark. How are we this morning, Jonny?
Good, very good. Looking forward to Sky Sports mad coverage, people waving things at reporters as they stand outside grounds, etc., etc. Although no Jim White, I don't think this time. He's gone.
Yeah, it's a bit
So
strange.
That's probably quite the same, is it?
I feel like we should be wearing yellow ties and having objects pointed at our faces. Let's talk about
2011, mate. And post-pandemic, I'm in shorts and t-shirt, and it's never changing. It's now my work attire.
Well, all the talks on possible transfers in and out of Ibrox today, Jonny. We touched a little bit yesterday on Borna Barisic with regards to possibly saying his Ibrox farewells in the Old Firm derby win. There's been sort of rumoured interest for us some time now from Italy, from AS Roma. Apparently a £12 million bid has been mooted. They've just bought a left-back themselves, of course, managed by Jose Mourinho now. Do you think he will be leaving today? Do you see that one as a possibility?
Well, it was all I can say is that yesterday, if it was just a reaction to an improvement in his performance, it was an interesting reaction. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I thought that to me seemed like obviously a player who recognised how much Rangers had in terms of an influence on his career and was going to be moving on. That's what it looked like to me. I think that's what it looked like to Chris Boyd. But time will tell. You know, moves can be set up and then fall apart in the transfer window. I know for a fact there has been a lot of clubs monitoring Borna Barisic. So whether or not that manifests itself in a firm bid or not is another story. We know that the transfer market is not the same as it has been in years gone by, nowhere near. And we see every day in terms of picking up the newspapers or going online if you're under 50, and you will see that there's a lot of transfer speculation, but very little transfer fact outside of the likes of Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain. You know, the big clubs, the elite clubs who are not really affected by the pandemic because of the size and scale of their operation and the TV deals. So it's going to be a waiting game to see who goes and who stays. One thing's for sure, though, Derek. I think Rangers will be disappointed if they don't sell a player by the end of the day. Steven Gerrard will be delighted to retain the squad. But I think Rangers as a club, you know, it was their stated aim at the AGM that as part of their player trading model, they would move one or two, and that's a quote, players on. And I think from a financial point of view, the club would probably like to move on someone and rake in some cash and, you know, bring in another player that can then become the next player that they want to move on. That's part of the symbiotic relationship that they hope to have in terms of player transfers. So, an Alfredo Morelos, a Borna Barisic. I would normally add a Glenn Kamara, but I just think Glenn Kamara is too important to actually lose at this stage, given we've already had a sort of glimpse into a Glenn Kamara free future. And I don't think anyone's that keen on it. So, I think you would be looking at maybe a Barisic, maybe a Morelos as a preferred sale. The other one, of course, which I'm sure you'll bring up, is Nathan Patterson.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like many Rangers supporters will be hoping that Morelos is still a Rangers player at the end of today. Good morning to everyone getting in touch online. Paul Gwynn says, morning, lads. James Strachan watching from down under. He's hoping that we can keep hold of Borna Barisic. Yes, you mentioned Nathan Patterson. Of course, Everton credited with an interest last week, just ahead of the Ross County game, a £5 million bid that was laughed out of town. They've come back with an £8 million offer that again has been rejected by Rangers. They're not going away, Everton, although they are looking to bring in Arsenal's Maitland Miles, I'm sure. as a sort of right back option. But certainly this interest from Everton not going away, Johnny.
No, and £8 million is certainly getting a lot closer to. I'm assuming what Rangers' valuation would be rather than 5, which just seems absolutely miles off. That's a test the water offer, that, isn't it? Nathan Patterson, I think, is another one to watch, and I'll tell you why. I think Nathan Patterson's a generational talent at right back. I think if he was to be kept at Rangers for 3 years, he would give the club a phenomenal 3 years of service. Because he's got everything in his locker. He's quick, he's powerful, he's a good finisher. We've already seen he can get goals. He's got everything in his locker to go on and go down south and be a Kyle Walker type. He can play right centre back and right back. But, and it's a big but, Rangers have James Tavernier, and he's the captain. And the age James Tavernier's at, I don't think he's going to get that big move down south or elsewhere. I think he is a Rangers man now for the rest of his career. Now, anything can happen, but I think that's probably the most likely alternative outcome. James Tavernier has got another 3. He just signed a new deal, so he's got another 2 or 3 years left with the club. So you've got this problem. How do you accommodate these 2 fantastic players, one of which needs game time? So if Everton were to come back, say £12 million or 10 million plus a 30% sell-on plus add-ons, I can start to see that being a deal that makes sense for Rangers, honestly, more than any other deal, because it literally has no impact on Rangers' first team quality, because Patterson's not in the first 11. You're not going to say Patterson's getting ahead of Tavernier at the moment. So, you're selling someone who isn't even a first pick for huge money, and you're sorting out that player trading model. Now, the problem with that is you're also selling a player, if you were to sell him, at the low point probably of his value. Now, anything can happen. The famous one, of course, is Scott Mckenna. Aberdeen turned down, what was it, 8 million or something like that? Sell for 3 million. That can happen. But to me, Patterson will be worth more in 3 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
He just will be. He's of that quality. So, he's a player that they could sell for 15 or 20 or 25 million down the line. But it makes sense at the moment from a business point of view, if you ask me, if the right valuation is hit. So I can see that one happening. And listen, let's be honest. Jesus, this is not a lot of money for Everton. No. 12 million quid.
Yeah.
I don't know what Rangers would value him at. I would imagine it would be around that ballpark.
Yeah, same here. Norman Martin has got in touch. Hi, Norman. Good morning, gents. Amongst the squad, who do you think is the most monetary value player we have, and could we afford to sell him, Kamara excluded? I think it's still Morelos for me. I think, what say you, Johnny? I think Morelos for me is still... I don't think they're getting the 20 million, but with the market being as it is just now. But for me, he's still the most valuable player that Rangers have. Although Ryan Kent, if he's on form, he's another one. Leeds United, of course, credited with interest before. I think those are the 2 players that they'll get most money for. Yeah,
I'm with you on that about the 2, but I think it's Ryan Kent. I think you would get comfortably 20 million for Ryan Kent. Obviously, it depends on the market valuations at the time and fluctuations. And listen, journalists like us love to throw about these figures, banding them about, and ultimately the market dictates what a player's worth. But I think Ryan Kent, he's English, he would be homegrown in that league. And the valuation that he had when he left Liverpool to come to Rangers, I think Liverpool valued him at 12 million at the time, and there was an agreement between the clubs, and I think there's a sell-on fee there as well. That allowed him to come to Rangers for 7 million plus whatever else was added into that deal in terms of future parts of the deal. So I think 20 million would be his valuation, or as a sort of baseline. Morelos for me, I think if you were to get 16.5 million, which is what Lille did offer previously, you'd absolutely snap their hand off for that. He's now only got 2 years left in his deal, whereas obviously previously he had 3. And I don't think he had the kind of season last year that would make a big club, stand up and say, well, this guy's worth 25 million. Because the problem with Alfredo Morelos, he doesn't score enough goals against the Premiership dross. You know, the lower bottom 6, those teams that are kind of disorganised, low block type teams. He doesn't do it enough. He should be racking up 15 goals a season against them and really spiking his numbers. And he did that for the first couple of years under Gerrard. But last season, I think, what did he end up with? Did he even hit 20 last season? It was round about that mark, wasn't it? It wasn't kind of the 30. And
it's in Europe that he comes to the fore, and that's will get him noticed down south and what have you. I think his goals against the top teams. I don't think teams down south will be interested in scoring against, with all due respect, Ross County.
No, I agree with you, but it's and you're totally right about that. But it's just about spiking those numbers. So you're talking about a 40-goal striker or a 50-goal striker. You know, it's absolutely, in terms of the scouting, it's going to be Europa League. And he does well in those competitions. But by not performing as well as he should against those teams, it kind of brings up other questions, I think, from scouts. I mean, he should be running riot against these guys. I actually think it's less about attitude, which people might be inferring that I'm suggesting from what I'm saying, and more about just his style. And I don't think Alfredo's a natural finisher. For all his qualities, I don't think he's the guy that he's through one-on-one with the goalie that you go, he's going to score here. He's not that deadly finisher. Who we've seen guys like this at Rangers over the years. The one that always sticks out to me more than anyone, more than like Ali McCoy, because people forget Ali needed five chances to score 2 goals, because he scored 355. So you know it's or whatever it was. I think it was that. But Nikita Jelavic, he was an incredible decisive finisher. The ball dropped, top corner or bottom right corner. Bottom left corner. He was deadly all the time. There was no sclaffed finishes or a finish that goes through the keeper's leg and comes off their leg and just about gets there. You know, it was decisive every time. I think that's something that Morelos could add to his game.
Yeah, we've got a comment here. Everton want £10 million for John Joe Kenny, yet offering under that for Patterson. Laughable. It's a good point made there by BCare721. It's certainly, as soon as you go down south, there's a premium on players. So I think historically Scottish clubs have sort of sold players under their true worth, but Rangers are quite right to stick to their guns, even though the market is where it is and they need to sell someone. Let's quickly look at possible incomings, Johnny. It's just rumours at the moment. There's no real concrete moves for anyone as such, but if Barisic was to go, there has been sort of murmurings that Rangers might look at Josh Doig of Hibernian, and of course Steven Gerrard was praised him last season, of course, when he came up against Nathan Patterson. I think it was. He praised the both of them. He's certainly a player that is on Rangers' radar. Would you like to see him at Ibrox? Maybe not today, but at some point.
He's an incredibly talented player. Really, really, really good left back, and I think, he would be someone that would add a lot of value to Rangers' squad. The only thing I would say is you're not getting him out of Hibs on the cheap. You know, no. I understand from speaking to people around the scene at Hibs that they would be looking for around £4 million for Josh Doig.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. And listen, Ron Gordon's not short of a bob or two. So he's not a guy that is going to be under pressure to sell. I think, you know, he's a businessman and he'll sell if he feels like the valuation's met. But I think you'd be talking minimum £3 million, and I think that would be at the lower end of what Rangers might be expected to pay. So you'll have to get a good fee for Patterson, for example. For Barisic, for example, to sort of make financial sense, that deal. Yeah,
absolutely. Another name that's been bandied about, Ali Mckenna, St Johnston, 21-year-old midfielder, of course, attracting interest from down south as well. He's another one. I think Rangers, they're historically known to keep their eye on the best talent in the country. It's good yeah. So Ali McCann is certainly one that I can see as well. I mean, that they're quite stacked for midfielders, but he's one for the future, I would say.
I like Ali McCann. I think he's a really, really good player. The only thing that I would say is, who's the Rangers midfielder that he's better than?
Yeah, exactly.
People would say, "Oh, John Lundstrom." Well, because John Lundstrom's had a slow start, but John Lundstrom's played in the Premier League. You know, I don't think you can actually compare them at all at this stage. I mean, Ali McCann is not better than Glenn Kamara. He is not better than Stephen Davis. He is not better than Ryan Jack. So where do you go from that? Because he's that type of player. He's that kind of low-lying. He moves the ball around well. I think he's got a good engine on him right enough as well. So I think he listen, he's a player that can probably accommodate himself into any of the roles in midfield. He can play box to box. He can sit deep. He can tackle. He's got everything.
Yeah.
But Rangers have got a few players that can do everything, and they're better than him. So, you know, how do you accommodate him? He's a young man. What is he, 21?
Yeah.
21, 22. So I wouldn't be upset to see him arrive at Ibrox. I think he's a really good player. It's just, I would say, you know, Rangers have got a lot of quality in that area. And they would find it difficult to get games. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. But we'll keep you up to date throughout the day, folks. If there's any movement with regards to transfers in and out of Ibrox, stay tuned to our social media pages on Twitter and on Facebook, and make sure to subscribe to the Rangers Review now for only £2.99 a month, and support top quality journalism covering the team you love. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, folks. We'll be back tomorrow.